Yeah. Hello. How are we? You all right?
Good to see you today.
Thanks for coming down, Kath. The wonderful Kathleen's leaving after 20 years. So.
Still a magician popping on mine.
Oh, did he come in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is. He did the £20 note in the lemon for us. Decent, to be fair. Decent enough to just pull a lemon out.
He didn't start the press conference off.
He thought I was trying to catch him out as well. And I weren't trying to catch him out. I'm just intrigued by that sort of up-close magic. You know what I mean? He thought I was looking to smile. I wasn't. I was just actually enjoying the cards.
He beat the lemon. I say, can you do us a trick now?
Really?
You beat that with the 10. Yeah, do a trick now.
Do you know what? I will share it with you. I will share it with you that we had an up-close magician on a trip once, and he did the card in the pool thing. You know, where they put it on the pool and it drifts away, the pack, and then the card's left floating on top, but he showed us how to do it.
He's not meant to do that though, is he?
I know. It's good though. It's good.
He's out. Shall stop whenever you get the urge for me.
There.
Just okay. Have a look at it. Make sure you remember it. You can let everyone else see the 6 of clubs as well.
Hey!
Let me know. And we'll place it back about halfway. You've heard of sleight of hand?
I certainly have.
I call this sleight of pen.
Okay.
If I use my Sharpie, you can see it says Sharpie on there.
It does.
Say Sharpie on the other side.
No.
Oh,
no, it does.
easy,
really,
yeah.
Does really
All we've got to do, I'm glad he did that. The wrong pen. All we've got to do is give it a quick shake, a little squeeze, and hopefully you'll see the ink starts to change, and it names one card and one card only.
It does. 6 of clubs.
6 of clubs. And then to instantly find it, if I use the 3 of spades, just pretend it was the 6 of clubs, look surprised.
As if by magic.
6 of clubs.
There you go.
This game. Enjoy it. Thank you.
It's good though, eh? Magic as a result.
Write itself. Shall we start then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean, first of all, obviously we're getting every manager's reaction today to the fact that Jose Mourinho has left.
Still making the news, that man. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Gully Solskjaer has come in as well.
Yeah.
What do you make of what's gone on this past week?
Well, I think with Jose, you know, I've spoken so highly of him, in my opinion, for the right reasons. Absolutely top manager. Things change, you know, it's not always that easy, the job. Varying opinions, varying situations, varying players and all the rest of it. But despite all that, doesn't, in my opinion, make him not a top manager, because he is a top manager. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going in there, I presume a good rapport with the club. He obviously understands the club. Certainly, I can only imagine a great rapport with the supporters of the club. And been off earning his spurs. You know, come into the Premier League for a bit, obviously. Different scenario, it's fair to say. Twist of fate playing Cardiff. I mean, you know, like any manager, I think you wish him well. It's a steep learning curve, but he will know that club. Although I'm sure it's changed in different ways, but he'll know the kind of the heartbeat of it, if you like, from his time there. I'm sure of that.
Off the pitch, we've seen various incidents of fan behaviour, bad behaviour, I should say. The latest being Dele Alli hit last night with a bottle thrown from the stands. For you, is it getting worse? What can be done to kind of?
No, I think it's clearly unacceptable. Everyone knows that. But I think, or hopefully, if it's one, it doesn't make this right, by the way, but if it's one moment of madness in arguably, 65,000 people, 60, 70,000, I don't know how many were there, but then I don't think that's extreme, whilst not acceptable, of course. And I think these clubs have the right and the power to make sure these situations are controlled the best they can. And often, you know, we've all seen it after the event that they find that person and they get banned or whatever it may be. But I don't think it's acceptable in any form. And some of the abuse that players and managers get, actually. But it's always been there, to be honest, a version of it. And I think it's in a way better place now than it has been in the past. And I think, you know, there can be some abuse thrown at players and managers alike, which is kind of, it's not acceptable, it's kind of throwaway. We're all used to it, you know, but there is a level when it goes too far. And I think that's changed. I think now there can be moments in time when people shout things that are, you know, really unacceptable. And I think that's changed in society, not just in football. But generally, I think it's dealt with well on the whole.
For yourselves, Ben Mee spoke this week about the position that you're in at the moment being a surprise to him. Is it a surprise for you as well, Sean?
Well, I think it's a surprise on, we speak about a lot about the team moving forward and the group moving forward as well as the club. And I think the experience of the team, you know, has helped them move forward in their careers as individuals, first of all, and as a team. And I think, on the other hand, the reality of this season has been considerably different. And whatever way you look at it, that difference does bring a bigger challenge and a different kind. You know, I mentioned last year, and I was joking, but it has kind of transpired in that way that, you know, as soon as we got into the Europa League, immediately everyone started putting negativity across that. Now that has to be dealt with. It has to be looked upon as being some part reality, because lots of managers I've spoken to, so forgetting about the media view, by the way, lots of managers I spoke to personally said it's really, really tough. It can get confusing for the players, it gets confusing for the fans, especially first time round, because it's such a big thing in a way to play in Europe. You know, kids grew up thinking of it and dreaming of it, as I did when I was a player. And then when it becomes a reality, it's like, well, even though rationally, you know, the Premier League is super important in a player and a team and a club's life, it's still this excitement of this European challenge. So it's hard to differentiate the two for which one's the most important, even though, as I said, factually, the Premier League is more important. So there can be a bit of confusion with that, and it takes a balance. Then you add into that a few challenges we've had with injuries, and yet again this week we've lost another player. So I think there's a lot of that going on, and that can bring a different feel. The hangover of success is well spoken about throughout business, so there's a little bit of that. But I do think over the last few weeks we're coming out of that period, and I think there's been clear signs of that through performances. And as I've mentioned recently, we've had one real blip, and thankfully it was a blip with the performance level. Now it's about changing that performance level, not just to good performances, but getting results. And we've been close, and we've delivered good performances. I thought it was a good performance last week against the top side, more like us type of performance, and against Brighton when we got a good win. Against Newcastle, I thought it was a really good performance. I was happy with that performance, didn't get anything, and against Liverpool. So performances, yes, are coming back to what we think. We can still get better for sure, but they have to get the reward of points. They have to, because that's the industry we're in.
You obviously switched to the back three against Spurs as well. Is that something that you're looking to continue with?
Well, it's one of them strange things I've mentioned down the years, that people presuppose that you, from the outside, not always, but sometimes, that you just roll something out there. We don't. We look at all the options, and you know, I remember recently with Michael Duff, before he went down to Cheltenham, he was saying, because he was an ex-player, he said, honestly, I didn't know the thought, the attention detail that goes in to what it does, because a player, they don't need to see all of that. But he was really, really surprised about the depth of information that we share as a staff this is, in order to get the team where we want it to be to go out there. And I think with a change of formation, it's always there. It's the timing, it's when you think it's appropriate, it's when a freshness is sometimes needed, a difference, a new focus for the players, as well as being productive, of course. So it's something that we've thought about for a long while now, and it's just the timing of it. When do you do it? 'Cause last season we were going well, and it's, you know, I don't like it to be a gimmick. I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it, to make out that you're doing something different purely because you can. We do it to try and get an effect on the team, and that effect, of course, to win. And I thought we pushed Tottenham hard last week with a change of shape, and they found it quite difficult, and that's part of the game. But of course, you've not got to just make it difficult for them, you've got to go and be productive, and that was the balance that we've got to find.
There's been some criticism that it was negative tactics against Spurs. How do you react to that? Because
just say it's
very
simple for me. It's reality tactics. You know, if everyone thinks that every team in the Premier League is going to play the beautiful game, at the moment there's only one winner, and that's Man City. So if everyone just goes, right, no, we're all going to roll it out at the back, and we're all going to play 600 passes a game, they win. End of story. So you've got to find a way. That's what we've done well here. You know, through all the challenges, the financial challenge, we're not got the power of many other clubs, including the ones like us. You know, when you look at the spending power of Brighton and Huddersfield over the last 3 windows, they've spent fortunes, you know. So it's we've got to find a way, and we've done that consistently over the 6 years I've been here. We've found a way of being successful, and we've had to fight, we've had to work. We've played some good stuff at times, we've played some productive stuff, we've played some hard stuff, but we've found a way, and I think that doesn't change. You know, when you're playing these big clubs, it's very, very difficult. If you just go, you know, literally pound for pound on expense or money spent, and quality that therefore, roughly speaking, that money buys, not always, but often, and the prowess of some of these clubs, it's very difficult. And you know, you've got to find a way. That's the simple answer. You've got to find a way. So it's more reality tactics rather than negative tactics for me.
You possibly due a change of look against Arsenal as well. I'm thinking of Sanchez's last minute.
Well, I've had some interesting times. Yeah, I've had some interesting times. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't think it's just. I don't think you can rely on lady luck, and I don't think you can rely on the balance. Although you always hope that something comes around your way. But we've never been one to cry there. We've had our fair share of moments over my 6 or so years here that have served us right. So performance is the key, I think.
Are they very, very different under Unai Emery?
I think there'll be some differences in the team. Like I was just saying, some background differences in the training methods, the information shared. I think the principles are still very similar. I think the manager wants to play out from the back, the same as the last manager. Not the same necessarily style, but the last manager wanted to play, he wanted to pass and play, he wanted to be productive. I think the biggest fan I am of Arsene's time was that, and I mentioned this before, he changed from a really rugged, hard format over many seasons and slowly morphed into something else, because the football Arsenal played in the latter years were absolutely considerably different to the early years. So I think that's a real good picture of how coaching and management, in my opinion, it takes time to change styles, but while you're doing that, still be a high performance level team that does things and wins things, if you like. So I think the manager there is probably doing his version of that, already a very good base to work from, of course. Twisting, tweaking, changing, trying to find his own ways of doing that. But the format, roughly speaking, my point is, of playing passing football and trying to play attacking passing football, I think that's very similar in that sense, but his version of that.
What do you make then of Unai Emery as a whole? Because he's taken a big decision in leaving out Mesut Ozil. It seems that he's trying to add that little bit of extra steel to the Arsenal that some had said had been missing last season.
Well, I think he'll find his way for sure. He's an experienced manager, and he'll be learning about the Premier League. And at the end of the day, you have to make them decisions. It's no different whether you're me at Burnley making a decision on what I consider a key player, or him at Arsenal making a decision on what others may consider a key player. I'm sure he does as well. So let's face it, he's a very good player. But that's a manager's job, is to pick the team that he thinks can be successful and can win.
Possibly got a key decision coming up with Pope having played for the under-23s this week.
Well, it's a bit early yet, but I think we'll give him a bit more time than one game in the under-23s. But no, he's a fine goalie, we know that, maturing all the time, and he'll get back to being fully fit. And I think he's well on his way now, with certainly getting that one under his belt and more to come.
When he is fully fit, is he first choice?
We'll see. Simple as that. We want competitive elements across the side, and we've certainly got that in the goalkeeping department.
What happens, though, just obviously with 3 England internationals within the squad, what happens going forward? Because at some point, I suppose, that's a little bit too many unless injuries hit it, can I say?
Well, that's right. So we find the balance. When chances arise to do business, if they do, by the way, then we'll look at that. If they don't, we're more than happy with the goalkeepers that we've got, the collective group, and the competitive element that they've shown. So we know all the situations and all the ins and outs of it.
Do you think the likelihood would be that maybe Tom Heaton would move on though? January. We'll
see. He mentioned a few, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, he did an interview, and I thought he spoke very well, very honestly. He wants to play first team football, he knows that. If something opens up from outside of us, we'll look at it, we'll consider it. We're not under any pressure to do anything, everyone will know that, with the business model of the club. But equally, we respect the players, and certainly Tom. Outstanding professional in my time here, and arguably one of the best signings I've ever made in my management career.
Equally, as we're not far away from the window opening, are you looking to bring players in? Do you need to supplement it?
We are. It's tough. I mentioned recently Mike Riggs come in, but there's no pressure on him. He's only just come in. So, we're looking to build a system and a model that can work just beyond, not just for this window, that's for sure. It's got to work in a longer period for the club. So there's no immediate pressure on him, but it's helpful if he can add something to what we already do, and if there is something out there that we think we can move on, then we will do.
I think he said, didn't he, it's not about just adding numbers, it needs to be long term if you're going to bring someone in January.
Yeah, I think the way the club's operated and the way it continues to operate, it's not throwing money at every situation, it's finding the right situations to work for now, of course. There needs to be a competitive element now, quite obviously as well at the moment, because we've got to get wins, but also the next layer of player, the next developable suitable player, the next one that can grow with the club and be shifted on at some point. There's a lot of boxes need ticking to make sure that they're the right players for this club, and that makes it difficult. But that's the challenge that we've been doing for 6 or so years.
Just to check on the injury situation, what's the latest with Lennon?
Yeah, he's had an operation. Another one, unfortunately, we keep getting close to getting everyone back, and then a few slip away. So he's had an operation, simple in the way it is, a cartilage operation, a sort of tidy up situation. So there's no timescale on that at the moment. He's happy with it. The specialist was happy with it. Stephen Defoe's still touch and go, niggly sort of bits and bobs with his calf this time, so we're having to be a bit careful with that. Johan's been back on the grass, so we're a bit more hopeful on that. Robbie Brady got a knock last week. He's been on the grass, but still got a bit of a knock. We're waiting. Hopefully that should be okay. So we're kind of getting there. Stephen Ward, of course, back training, getting closer to having a run out with the young lads or the reserves, whichever way you look at it. And then Popey continues his recovery as well. So still some way to go at the moment before we get everyone fit.
So Goodmanson and Defoe no chance for this weekend either?
No, Goodmanson's been on the grass. He's been back training with us. Yeah. So he's got a chance. Yeah. Stephen won't. Well, it's a judgment call. I don't think we'll make that judgment in his favour because we've got to be careful with him, and he's got to be careful to make sure he's right.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Nothing from PLP. Okay, cameras off then, please.